Hello and welcome to a new week of meals. I am excited to share 4 recipes with you this time around. I'm starting off with a bell pepper casserole that I kind of jazzed up with some sausage here. So I'm taking some leftover rice. I've got a Farmer John's sausage, some veg. They've got some onion here and some bell peppers. And then I'm going to take some extra virgin olive oil and start with sauteing the veggies. If you happen to hear a little pitter patter in the background, that is my dog walking around, so she's just hanging out doing her thing. So here we go with the bell peppers. I'm just going to saute that a little bit to start to soften them a little bit. I like to try to get a little char on it, but then I get a little impatient and just move on with the recipe. As per usual, I'm going to have any recipes that I have a link for. I will leave that link down below in the description box so you can follow this to a T if you'd like to give this recipe or any of the other ones a try. I kind of adjust as I go along so I don't follow measurements exactly. Once the veggies have a bit of color on it, I go ahead and add the diced up smoked sausage. This is actually a Polska kielbasa, so a Polish sausage. These were on clearance at our grocery outlet for 97 cents. I pulled one out of the freezer and I decided to use it here. So go for those clearance meats if you can, guys. Really, really affordable way to feed your family. Now I'm going in with some diced tomato and some tomato sauce. The original recipe calls for a slightly larger can of tomato sauce, which I didn't have, so I added a little bit of water just to make up for that moisture. And time to add the leftover rice. And there you go. It's as simple as that. Just mix everything together. You can add some seasoning if you'd like to just, adjust the flavor to your liking. If it's not salty enough, go ahead and add a little bit of salt. If you want to add some, garlic powder or anything like that. I am adding some Italian seasoning here. I've also got some garlic powder and some onion powder. I'm going to stir that up, and then we're going to put it into a greased baking dish. The pot was so heavy I just had to readjust, but we're just going to spread that evenly into the baking dish and then top with some cheese and pop it into the oven. So this is kind of like, you can see like a little fusion of like a jambalaya and a bell pepper, like stuffed bell pepper, but in casserole form. It was actually very, very tasty and super versatile, super fast. So I highly recommend this dish for sure. And you can add any protein that you like. I think if you add some ground beef, that would be excellent. It would really, really resemble a stuffed bell pepper kind of thing if you wanted to do that. But here is the finished product right out of the oven. So cheese is nice and melty, and it's bubbly, nice and hot. And you can serve that. Well, there's already rice in it, so nice side salad or maybe some additional veggies would be really good. But I just served it just like this by itself. Maybe some crusty bread would be good as well. And that was the first meal of the week. And if you are new to this channel and if you are enjoying these recipes so far, please give the video a thumbs up so other people can find the recipe ideas. And now on to the second meal of the week. We've got some chicken tenderloin here. I am trying my hand at $1 Million Chicken. So I've got the ingredients. We need some cream cheese, some green onions, we've got some bacon, some mayo, and some cheese. So I'm just taking the chicken tenderloin here. I'm patting them dry. Now you can pull that little, I think it's a tendon out of the tenderloin, but I'm just serving this for my family, and it's no big deal for us to either cut around it or just chew around it. We're not being fancy here or anything, but if you don't like that, you can definitely pull that little tendon out. So I'm just taking all of the chicken tenderloin, that's 2 pounds right there, that's been defrosted, and I'm just going to fit it into my little baking dish here. This is another easy one to put together. This is the first time I've made it, but I was really impressed by how simple it was and how tasty the final product was. So I'm taking the green onions here and I'm just chopping them up, dicing it up into nice little fine little pieces here, and then that's going to get mixed with the rest of the ingredients. We've got some cream cheese here. I believe the original recipe calls for only 6 ounces. I went ahead and used the entire block, which is 8. And I'm adding some mayo and the bacon, and then we're going to add the green onions to this. Now, because I added a little bit more cream cheese than the recipe called for, it was a little bit tighter of a mixture than I think if you didn't use as much cream cheese. So what I'm doing is going to add a little bit more mayo to loosen up a little bit more, and I think it gets to a more spreadable consistency. So that's just what I'm doing here, but you just play by ear and see how you like it. Again, if you wanted to follow the recipe exactly, the measurements will be down below in the link for the recipe. Now it's time to take that cream cheese mixture and we're just going to plop it on top of the chicken, kind of spread it out as evenly as possible. As this cooks, it may spread out just a teeny tiny bit as the cheese softens even more, but you just kind of want to get it evenly distributed over the chicken so that each bit of chicken can have a little bit of that nice creamy sauce on top of it. And the last step before baking is to add some shredded cheese. Again, I'm just using my Mexican shredded cheese here because that's what I have on hand. I think it would really be good actually if you mix some cheese into the cream cheese so that as that cooks it gets a little bit more, cheesy. that was pretty obvious, wasn't it? But a little bit more cheesy inside the cream cheese mixture. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there is the finished product here. I served with just some mixed veg and then just some Pillsbury biscuits, out of the can, and that was such a yummy, 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 tasty dinner. I will definitely do this one again. Next up was our meal for Ash Wednesday, and so this is a meatless meal since we were abstaining from meat on this particular day. Just got a salad kit. I've got some smashed potatoes, garlic potatoes. I will link a previous video where I made those so you can see how I made them. And then we've just got some Trader Joe's white cheddar mac and cheese. Really simple, super tasty, and really, really fast and easy. And the last meal that I'm sharing with you is a copycat Wendy's chili. I was craving this because recently, as we were traveling out of state, we went to a Wendy's where they served a family-sized bucket. I kid you not, a large, large bucket of Wendy's chili. Now, we have Wendy's here in Southern California, but I have never seen a family-sized option on the menu, and so I was super impressed by how large this was. We didn't even know how much it was, but it was really good. It tasted, exactly like the Wendy's chili that we have here in LA. But here we go with the recipe. We've got some ground beef, and then we're going to add some diced onion and diced celery, as well as some bell peppers. Now, I have a previously frozen bell pepper that I had in the freezer, and I'm just going to take a bit of that. Now, I would have, if I was making this from fresh bell peppers, I would have diced them up smaller, but they were already cut up large. And then I'm going to add a couple cans of beans here. Now, the recipe says not to drain the beans, so that's what I'm doing. I'm adding the liquid in with it. I believe it's also called aquafaba, if I recall correctly from some recipes I've seen online. Now, I'm using stewed tomatoes in lieu of chopped tomatoes because I didn't have chopped tomatoes, and I think by chopped they mean maybe diced tomatoes, so you use whatever you need to use here. I'm just squishing them up so they're kind of like diced tomatoes. And the last thing before the spices and other seasonings is some tomato sauce. So I'm adding that here. That's just a little bit more, I believe, than what the recipe calls for, but it doesn't really matter. You know, this all kind of thicken and evaporate and get to a nice chili consistency. So we're going to add the spices now. We're going to add some chili powder, some cumin, of course. We've got salt and pepper, anything else that you wanted to add as well. Now, I tried to stay as close to the measurements, you know, by eyeballing as I could of the original recipe, just so I could see if it really tasted like Wendy's chili. And about a half hour into the simmering process, I decided to give it a taste, and then I went ahead and adjusted the way my taste buds like the chili. Did it taste exactly like Wendy's chili? Probably not, because I made some, adjustments according to my taste buds. But hey, I'm going to be eating this, and as long as I like it, and as long as everybody else likes the way it tastes, it's going to be just fine for us. So here's the chili before it is completely nice and simmered down and thickened. The veggies are not yet fully cooked, so I'm just going to let that simmer uncovered for at least 2 hours, is what the recipe calls for. So there's me just adding a whole bunch of other stuff that I wanted to add. And the other thing that I thought it needed was a little zing, a little tomatoey tang. And I don't know, for whatever reason, the canned tomato stuff didn't work for me, so I added a couple squirts of ketchup, and that did it for me. So there you go, served with some green onions, some sour cream, some shredded cheese, whatever you like. This would be so good with some cornbread or like just some saltine crackers, just whatever you like. But there you go, that is our copycat, quote unquote, Wendy's chili. That isn't exactly Wendy's chili because I made my adjustments, but it was so good. It was so filling. I actually made this early in the day, and I kind of had a little bit for lunch here and maybe a little bit for a snack later in the day, and then I finally had my big bowl for dinner. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's meals. I really enjoyed them this time. I always do, but this week especially was, particularly delicious. So thank you guys so much for stopping by and for sharing in our family meals. I will see you in the next video. Take care until then. Bye-bye.